We got Zoom going here? We have anybody on?
Yeah, let's hear the bell.
Okay. Welcome to downtown Madison, Kiwanis. April 10th, I think. Kind of lose the days when you're retired. I know it's Monday though. Okay, we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Flags in the back. I pledge allegiance of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I think I counted about 20, 14, no, maybe not quite that many. We have our guest speakers today. We have a duo, one of whom I think everybody knows, and the other one was a very important person with the Culvers organization. So we're going to learn about the community organizations promoting the arts, or COPA. Is it copa.org is the website, or copamadison.org. So I checked out the website. Interesting project that we're going to hear about from Joe Koss, who will start off the presentation. And as I alluded to, Joe was an executive with the Culver corporate and everything from CFO to president, and he is now retired, even though he doesn't look old enough to be retired. But he has become active with the COPA group. And we also have a person who probably needs no introduction, Mike LaCrone, 50 years as leader of the marching band at UW-Madison, and is also on the board with this COPA project. So that I think is enough introduction, and they're going to give a little bit of an overview of the project and then questions and answers. So we will learn about this project. So Joe, it's all yours. Mike.
Thank you. Well, thanks again for inviting us and giving us this opportunity to share more about our story. And so, as mentioned, I currently serve on the board of directors for COPA. And if you give us a few moments, I'd like to share a little bit more about COPA and as well the LaCrone Arts Fund. So with that being said, let's talk a little bit about COPA. There we go. So as mentioned, COPA, what is it? Well, COPA is short for Community Organizations Promoting the Arts. And as you can see from our mission, COPA empowers local organizations to drive a love of the arts to the people who participate and observe by supporting programming for youth and adults. So COPA is really focused on increasing access to the arts, especially among the underserved populations. We feel the arts are critical to the growth of our community and its individuals. And we know there's just a huge demand in this area for a place to practice, perform, and call home. So up here, you've got a picture of our board members, and you can see a very talented and passionate group of individuals that are really bringing this dream to life. So COPA is actually operating today out of a existing repurposed building over in Fitchburg off Index Road. And so today, COPA provides programming and space for artists of all genres, really. So everything from music, both song and instrumental, to dance and the visual arts, including paintings and sculpture. And so really, COPA is about serving the underserved. And there are programs happening today, and quite a few programs that are happening today. And just to give you an example of one of those is something we call Harmony Madison. And the Harmony Madison program provides music education to first graders at the One City schools. And so we're seeing some great momentum with this program today. And we really want to expand that into the future. And very pleased. The parents are pleased, the teachers, the administrators at One City School, very pleased with that program so far. So what's the big dream? The big dream is to ultimately build a world-class state-of-the-art facility, arts facility. And really, this is not just about a new building, but it's an entire arts campus that we want to build over in Fitchburg, 70,000 square foot facility. And so that is a big dream, and that's what we're shooting for. But we have to start somewhere. Oh, and I mentioned the Harmony program. This is a picture here of some of those first graders during a recent performance playing their violins. And we've had the opportunity to go watch their performance, and just warms your heart when you see those little first graders playing. So to talk a little bit more about this big dream, some of the location highlights that we're looking for. Certainly a number of great arts and music venues across Madison. But there still is this great need for space for musicians and artists across Dane County. And we want to help provide that space. So classroom space, rehearsal space, workshop space for these artists. And of course, we want to provide performance space, and ultimately we want to build a 400-seat auditorium for these artists to perform. But of course, this is the big dream, but we need to build momentum with this dream, and we need to start somewhere. And that somewhere is the Lacrone Arts Fund. So the Lacrone Arts Fund, what is it? Well, it's an endowment fund that will help create programs, establish relationships, and build that pipeline for both current and future programming at the COPA facility. And to ensure that the COPA facility remains accessible and affordable to all, Mike Lacrone and his family have set up this fund to provide financial support to those individuals and organizations who may be lacking the funds to do so. Now, the goal is to raise $5 million as an endowment to provide ongoing grants and scholarships to those groups and individuals. And that's why we felt it was important to start our campaign by raising money for the Lacrone Arts Fund, to establish the artists and the programs, and then focus our attention on raising money for our new facility. So with that, why don't we find out more about the Lacrone Arts Fund? And it is now my pleasure to introduce someone who needs no introduction, as we've talked about, Mr. Mike Lacrone, who was director of the UW Band for more than 50 years, from 1969 to 2019. And certainly Mike is a living legend in this state, and the UW Marching Band has entertained millions of fans at UW football games and certainly many other events. And of course, can't forget about that annual spring band concert as well. So please, give another warm welcome to Mike Lacrone. I'm going to bring this down. I'll give you that. Okay. So we'll just start with a little Q&A with Mike here. And so Mike, 50 years with the band. That is truly incredible. But my first question, have you ever tried to count how many total band members that you trained over the years?
I get that question a lot. People say, how many kids have you touched over the years? And I'm not good enough in mathematician. I'm a band director. You can't expect me to be very bright. So, but I'm just one step above tuba players. But I've tried to, and I had some mathematicians work on it. And they came up with it's somewhere between 8,000 and 10,000 kids I've touched over the 50 years that I've been involved. Now that includes, you see, I don't do just the marching band. I do a lot of other bands in the department. So I've touched an awful lot of people. And the thing that makes me the proudest is the people who have been in the band and come back and say, band made me they made me work, it made me think. And I think that's part of the idea of COPA. We want to give kids the opportunity to play, to think, and do more than just play music. So, but my involvement's been all those years, and I can't say that it's ever been a boring moment. It's been fun. It's been fun the entire time, and I miss it. Well, I don't miss some of it. I miss the kids, and that's part of what COPA is supposed to do, is allow those kids to perform.
I'm sure it was a lot of fun, Mike. And 8 to 10,000, you said?
That's what they say.
That is incredible.
I can't figure that hard.
That is incredible. And certainly, I think they will all say you had a tremendous impact on their lives. But can you talk a little bit more about the impact that music and the arts overall can have on children and young adults?
I got started in this project sort of in the back door. I kept getting, when I retired, people think, well, when you retired, you don't have anything else to do. So people would call me and say, you know, Mike, we need a place to rehearse. You know of any place? We need a place to perform. I want to get a little band together, but there's no place for us. And I got a lot of phone calls about that. And I started asking around, and they were right. There weren't those places to perform. There weren't those places to rehearse. And then I combined with some of the people on the board at COPA, and they started the ball rolling. So it was very, very interesting for me to see that these kids and these adults were thinking about the kids first. And that is what pulled me into the idea. What I've seen COPA do is just remarkable. I was sold on the idea before, but they took me over to Milwaukee. And Milwaukee has a program, much like what we're trying to do with COPA. They have a program there, and I was absolutely amazed. There were performance halls, there were classrooms, and the more importantly, there were kids who were being involved with music at all levels. To me, COPA is not just a matter of learning to play your instrument. It's learning about people, how they work. They learn about teamwork. They learn about all sorts of personal skills, social skills. I mentioned the word teamwork. I use that word a lot. It just so happens my definition of teamwork coincides exactly with Coach Alvarez. We have exactly the same definition of teamwork. Teamwork. That's a whole bunch of people doing what I say. But those elements are sometimes missing. I would urge you all to read a book by an author named Anita Collins. It's called, what is it called? The Music Advantage. And in it, she does a study, which studied several years of students who were the honor students in their classes. They were people who got the scholarships. They were people who got the awards. And she found out that 70% of those people had music in their background at some course. I think that's significant. And I'm going to get on a soapbox here for now. I really abhor the idea that music is one of those things we can cut in our schools. It shouldn't be the first thing you cut in school, it should be the last thing, because it can do so many different people skills that we don't know about. That's probably the soapbox that I'm getting on more than anything else, is what it can do for the students. I don't know if you know it or not, but 40% of the Wisconsin band, up at the time when I left it, 40% were engineering students. Now, I asked John Bollinger at the time, when he was the dean of school music, why that was, and his reply to me was, music has to be very important to, but they also learned that music can be a stepping stone to other things, and those other things are what we call the academic side, but the music side is what spurs them on. Incidentally, John was a very big proponent of kids, engineering students playing in the marching band. He very much supported that, and then I found out later he had been a trumpet player for many years, and a pretty good trumpet player. So that's what my sense of, people say, we don't know if we can afford it. I don't know if you can afford not to get these kids involved. And did that make sense, Joe?
Yeah, absolutely. And interest, engineering students,
Yep.
who knew? Who knew? So you touched on this a little bit. Certainly we've got a lot of great venues across Dane County, a lot of performance space for artists, but there is still this huge need in our community and shortage of space. Can you talk to that a little bit?
Yeah, what Joe said is true. People say, well, why do you need another facility? And you've probably read in the paper, there are all sorts of facilities being made available to them. And I know WISO is in the midst of building it. Would that take its place? The answer is pretty simple, no, it won't. First of all, PRISO has a very distinctive personnel that they're trying to reach. They're looking for the talented kids, the kids who have some music background. You have to audition to get in. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's great. But what about the low income people? What about the kids who haven't had the background of music education? Those are the ones that I think COPA is really trying to touch. The best, well, I shouldn't probably say that. People ask me, don't we have enough? And I say, we could build the COPA facility. We could build as they see it as the dream, as we see it as this dream. We could build it and we'd still need more. It's not that it's a matter of we're going to satisfy these things. That's what Rice has done. That's what the Madison Youth Organizations have done. They've filled that supply. But what I've been impressed with is how it can go beyond the beginnings of some of these big organizations.
Absolutely. And so, you've talked about, providing an opportunity for those underserved population. And, we talked a little bit about our Harmony Madison project over at COPA. Can you talk about that program a little bit more and what we're seeing from that program?
We've been in visiting, I've been aware of a couple other things that are going on. The Harmony Project takes kids at the first grade level and they teach them an instrument. Now it's very simple. It's very simple. For example, they have a violin and they learn maybe to play just on one string. But what happens is they will take that and the kids get excited. Joe will tell you, I will tell you that when you see them up there perform, the simplest kind of material, there's an excitement, there's a joy, there's a happiness that you see these kids. And I think I've seen the same kind of thing with the kids that I work with. Once they experience it, there's nothing like hearing yourself play and having people applaud. Boy, that's the answer, is applause. That's what's got me hooked all these years. If you wouldn't have applauded, I wouldn't have kept going. But to see these kids with and the interesting thing is the retention. It's not just a matter of a 1 year thing, it's a retention. We do it this year, and then next year, those first graders take the next step, and they're all starting on string instruments, on basically a violin. But then the next year, they might take cello, and then the next year, they might take up trombone. Next year, they may take up, God forbid, tuba. But that's the evolution that we see happening, and there's not enough opportunities for these kids to do the performance. We could build COPA, and right away we need more. And I said that before, and I'll continue to say it when he asked me.
So what do you have against the tuba players?
Well, they're not very bright.
Okay.
Well, I'll just take a moment and in order to play tuba, Joe, in the Wisconsin band particularly, you have to pass the tuba player's intelligence test. If you can't pass it, you're not smart enough to play tuba. And I will show you what the tuba player's intelligence test looks like. Which hand has the marble? That's why I pick on.
Oh, that's terrific. So the Lacrone Arts Fund, let's talk more about that. Tell me more about your visions, your goals for the Lacrone Arts Fund.
Well, first of all, let me say I'm a little embarrassed that it's called the Lacrone Arts Fund, because I don't know that my name should be on it. But it's something I truly believe in. And the whole idea, Joe touched on it, the whole idea of this arts fund is to provide, you can call it tuition if you want to, you can call it provide fees if you want to call it whatever it is, but so these kids can partake in all these things, like the learning projects, like summer bands, summer jazz bands, jazz beginnings. They can participate in it, and it's not going to cost them a lot of money, if anything at all. That's the whole idea, is provide, you might call them scholarships, I still call them the underwritings of what the kids want to do. So I see that as that means to enable all kinds of groups that want to participate with it. And COPA right now, we not only have the beginning violin, but there's also meets regularly an Hispanic group. There's a hip hop group that meets. There's a jazz group that meet. And to me, that's serving the entire population, which is what I wanted it to do. That's what the idea of the Arts Fund is, that they will be provided for and they can do it without having to worry about any cost or expenses at a level that we can. And I'm very excited about the COPA project that Joe mentioned, this wonderful building that I've seen plans for. But I don't think it's where we want to, I know that's not where we want to start. We want to get this going. I'm not going to last that long. And so we have to make sure that there's a ground rules program started, and it will grow. As I said, I saw it grow in Milwaukee, and we can't let Milwaukee do anything better or as well as we do.
Well, thank you, Mike. I appreciate you sharing a little bit more about your dream of the Lacrone Arts Fund and how that's going to help support COPA into the future, especially for those underserved individuals, right? That's what it's about. So many young children do not have access to the arts today, and we want to provide that access that's affordable to them. Is that right?
That's absolutely right. Yeah. Everybody thinks music is expensive. It isn't. It doesn't need to be. It's expensive to purchase the instruments, sure, but it's not expensive to stand in a room and play a violin or play a trumpet. That's all you have to do is provide the bodies, and it can be a very economical thing. And what you're going to get back is much more than what you're expending.
Absolutely. So I think we want to leave a little time here for questions from the audience. So I think we have one right there.
Yeah, this is an observation. What you're planning here is just wonderful. And I just want to say my son was in Mike's band playing trumpet about 30 years ago. And what always impressed me about Mike, once in a while, my wife and I would go and watch the practices. And, you'd have that 250 kids out on that field. And he could yell at those kids by name when they were screwing up. And I want Mike to know that in spite of his influence, my son has turned out to be a wonderful young man.
Well, I thank you, and I had everything to do with that.
Now,
Tell me who you are.
It was Brett Nemke was.
Okay.
And Mike, I think we ran into you in a restaurant 10 or 15 years after he was out of the band, and you addressed him by name, which absolutely amazed me, given that you have 200 kids. Maybe he was really a troublemaker. I don't know. That's why we remember him. But that just shows the type of individual Mike Lacrone is in terms of knowing these kids by name and addressing them by name. I just couldn't believe you knew who he was 10 years later.
Well, that was an alternative motive that you sort of touched on. Your ulterior motive was, If you just say, hey, you in the brown shirt, move to your left. If you say, hey, Jim, get in line, there's an intimidation factor there that I used for 50 years, and it worked.
It worked very well.
Yeah. Yeah. But
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh,
Yeah, I guess maybe this is more a question for you about how COPA works or how
Yeah.
the programming works and in what ways you're communicating and collaborating with local schools and maybe community centers and particularly with music educators to, first of all, find the kids that could really benefit the most from this and make sure it's not just an isolated experience, that it's tied in with what they're doing at school and what music educators are trying to do.
yes, absolutely. I think we have a great opportunity to do more outreach, and I think we're still in the early stages. And COPA is only a couple years old, and we're gaining momentum. Certainly, the Lacrone Arts Fund is relatively new and starting the momentum with that fundraising campaign. But we have an opportunity to reach out to local schools and other organizations, and we're trying to do that now. And we're getting the word out. And certainly, we've got our website, we've got social media that we're being more active in. But we've got to take a more proactive stance to find those opportunities.
Yeah, they could really help you build the program and design it.
we have some educators now who are going into the schools and teaching, and we want to see that expand. I have an idea that I mentioned to a couple of the board members is that we should be starting our own groups that can grow and not just wait on WISO to serve, but to say that there's a group that will establish what we're trying to do. And it has to be elementary level so that you get them before they get bad habits, like the tuba players.
Yeah, and I think this Harmony project is a good test for us. And it's proving out. We're only one semester into it, a semester and a half into it, and already seeing great success. And I think we're going to take our learnings from that and expand that across the community.
And my idea is to take, there's a lot of students at the university that are music students. And there's a whole supply of those who would like to have the experience of teaching a beginning thing. And if we use that resource, that's a wonderful resource, and it serves those people. The students who need the experience will get that experience, and the students who just need the opportunity will get it with almost no expense or very little expense. And when I was at Butler many years ago, I was a part of a group called the Special Education Division, is what they call it. And special education, I gave trumpet players lessons on a weekly basis. Most of them didn't cost anything to, but the school paid me as a teacher to do it. Not much, but they did pay me. So those are the kind of things I can see happening here.
You're trying to raise $5 million. Where are you at in that process?
We're just in the beginning stages. The Lacrone Arts Fund was actually just started this year. So this is you have the distinct honor of being the very first group that we're speaking to about this. So congratulations on that.
How many dollars have you raised?
I don't know if we have a tally yet, but
I know there was a couple of grants at $50,000. That was sort of a nest egg or a starting point to get going, and so we're working on that. I'm the last guy to talk about finances. Joe's the businessman. I mean, I'm not, and I readily admit it. But I think there are some grants in place, which is, I think, a good starting place for us.
yeah, grants that we've gotten so far, and grants that we've applied for as well. Yes, sir.
First a question, then an observation. Question is, when you started, Mike, 50 plus years ago, wasn't your practice field just north of Camp Randall?
When I started, practice field was across from what do they call it now? The physical education. what do they call it?
DCR,
Oh, the shell?
No,
the NAT.
the NAT, yeah, that's what they call it. It was right across from the NAT. Now, before I came, they used to practice in two places. There was a parking lot right beside Camp Randall, and then there was a field north of Camp Randall. And those are the two places they rehearsed. By the time I got there, we were at the NAT.
You ever think that maybe you had so many engineers in the band because your practice field is right next door to the engineering campus?
Well, it's a good thing I didn't, because all those things are parking lots now. But, and we had a hard time when we wanted to get away from the surf field. In fact, that's not the surf. What did we just say it was? NAT, yeah. I put it away because the building's gone. But, I've only been to that 2 or 3 years, and people told me, we want to start using that for other facilities, parking lots and so forth, which is what they did. But we've been shutting around a lot. Finally, one of the people from the athletic department made sure we had that field that we're at now, which is just right across from the Royal building. That's it.
You mentioned about teamwork. I consider music as the ultimate team sport, because you can be 5 foot and play a trumpet, you can be 7 foot and play a trumpet, and it doesn't matter how fast you can run or how big you are, but everybody has a role to play, and you all have to do it together. And I think every kid ought to understand that when they grow up and start to get involved in music.
Well, that's one of the reasons, that's something that Anita Collins touches on in her book, how important that is to learn that aspect of it. It's, you don't do it, I mean, there's a lot of funny sayings about there's no us and team and all those sort of things, but the main thing is that you learn that you do have to work together, and the better you work, the better the sound is. I used to have people say, Mike, this is hard. This is really hard, what you're asking us to do. And I came back with a saying that became one of the band's mottos. I'd say, well, if it was easy, anybody could do it. And that's true. If these things were easy, anybody could be a great athlete, a great musician, a great businessman. Anybody can do it. It's not easy. It takes hard work. And as soon as you realize that, and the kids do, that's what I think the whole idea of what music can do for you takes over. But I absolutely love your analogy that you have to be a member of a team, whether it be athletic or whatever. I feel very fortunate to have the kind of kids over the years that want to be a part of a team. And they want to work hard. They understand that hard work is very important to what we do.
Well said, and well said by this gentleman over here as well. It looks like, well, we've got time for maybe one more question.
Part of your funding going to be put towards purchase of instruments for the kids?
For what, I'm sorry?
Purchase of the instruments for the kids?
Not immediately, but we've already had a couple of donations that provided these beginning string instruments. Now, those are not very expensive, but they provide so the kids don't even have to worry about having that. My idea is that we'll provide a part of it, a portion of that instrument. And it's kind of interesting that I'm on the other side of the business where I see that there are a lot of band instrument companies who, what I call rent out instruments for students, and then sometimes the students don't keep playing or they switch instruments. Well, the music store usually either buys them back or you're stuck with them. I think those are that's an area that I think we can play on a little bit more and maybe get donations of those instruments from companies. I think there's a whole lot of things that we haven't tapped in COPA that I think are out there. And so, as I said, I think before, we can do everything COPA wants to do, and we still need more, so far as what the music part is concerned. Yeah, well, I'll get you both.
I'm a board member for WISO, and watching their Harmony program, WISO has a similar program called Music Makers. And I'm thinking, I can see the time when Harmony and Music Makers can play in a concert together. How many are in Harmony now?
I don't know if I know the answer.
It's probably 40 to 50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think, that would promote COPA as well.
Oh, yeah.
A concert, on a concert together.
Well, I've seen firsthand, and I've seen it for years, but it really impresses me when you take a first grader or a kindergarten kid and they make a sound. Now, sometimes that sound is god awful, but they make a sound and they take such great pride in it, particularly if the parents are doing their job and saying, hey, that was good, even though it may not be, but to keep encouraging them so that they will want to come back and do it again. You get a sense when you see these kids successful, they want to do it again. And that's, to me, is what I'm trying to see happens, because music has been such an important part of my life that I can't not see why we can't keep going with it. Yeah, you had a question.
Yes, you're talking about accepting donations of older instruments, as some of us have, some of us string instruments sitting in the house from some time ago. Is there some place we can donate them for your program?
Well, not right now, but I think we can set that in motion. But right now, we don't, as Joe keeps saying, this is fledgling group, but I think we can, I think that's one of those resources that's really possible.
I'd love to get rid of them.
Did she say she'd love to get rid of it?
Yes.
Well, I can understand that.
No, I think there will be that opportunity, and with that, just wanted to bring up this last slide. Certainly we're just getting started, but looking to build momentum with our fund here, and certainly you can learn more at our website, again, copamadison.org, to learn more about COPA and the Lacrone Arts Fund. Mike, I want to thank you for sharing more of your story and your dream about the Lacrone Arts Fund, and certainly thank the Kiwanis group here for hosting us today. But this has to start with a dream, and I think Mike's got a great dream, and we want to bring it to life. So again, thank you for this opportunity today, and certainly thank you for hosting.
If anybody has any questions you want to ask me, I'll stay around for a while. I don't have to be back at the home for another hour. Thank you very much.
Thank you. No, do you have some business?
We have some business to do.
Hopefully we didn't take too much time.
Yeah, perfect.
There you go.
Okay, I do not see Peter Fisher, who had moment of reflection today. Oh, Dolly does. Okay, Dolly, you're up then.
Oh, so we do now?
Sure.
Okay. So now I'm wishing I had a moment of reflection that had to do with music. And that was a hard act to follow. But it's kind of a hard day because there were so many things one could reflect on. There was Easter, and it was the anniversary of Appomattox Treaty yesterday. I was thinking of all these things I should reflect on, but the thing that kept popping into my brain was a 6-foot tall white rabbit. And I don't know if that was just because of Easter or one of my favorite quotes is from the movie Harvey. How many of you remember the movie Harvey? Elwood P. Dowd was the character played by Jimmy Stewart. And there's so much that's endearing about that movie. But my favorite quote is from Elwood P. Dowd. In this world, you must be oh so smart or oh so pleasant. Well, for years, I was smart. I recommend pleasant. And then that made me think of one of my other favorite philosophers, that was Winnie the Pooh. And many of the characters in Winnie the Pooh had many really profound insights about life. And some of these might come off as sort of anti-intellectual, but I like to think of them more as just about humility and the limits of our intellect. Those who are clever, who have a brain, never understand anything. It's more fun to talk with someone who doesn't use long, difficult words, but rather short, easy words, like, what about lunch? Those are Winnie the Pooh. People say nothing is impossible, but I do nothing every day. That sounded like a Ken Tasek quote. Just because an animal is large, it doesn't mean he doesn't want kindness. However, but Tigger seems to be, remember that he wants as much kindness as Roo, who's the little tiny kangaroo. If the person you are talking to doesn't appear to be listening, be patient. It may simply be that he has a small piece of fluff in his ear. You find sometimes that a thing which seems very thingish inside you is quite different when it gets out into the open and has other people looking at it. I am not lost, for I know where I am, but however, where I am may be lost. You can't stay in your corner of the forest waiting for others to come to you. You have to go to them sometimes. You are braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think. And last one by Eeyore. A little consideration, a little thought for others makes all the difference.
Thank you, Dolly. I have a number of events and announcements, but Jerry has some information, and I think probably Tom Broad. Any other announcements? Just get in line.
Let's move this podium up a little bit. No, I was not a tuba player, but when you play a cornet for 3 hours on the back of a truck playing polka music, you blow your lip out. Then you can play tuba another hour. Oh, 2 announcements. 1, blood drive. I have all the volunteers I need, so you won't have to listen to me talk about that again until June sometime. Second announcement, highway cleanup. I have 11 people right now, and that's almost where I need it. I still need a few more, so you'll hear that announcement for a few more weeks yet until I get enough. And I'm still waiting for some of the after hours kids to jump to the volunteer on that one. They're a lot better than those of us that are in our 70s and 80s out there on the highway. Thank you.
I just want to thank Kevin and Cole for helping out at Columbus Dinner last Thursday. One Stop gave away a lot of candy. So, you know, prime the pump for all the candy they got on Easter Day.
Thank you, Tom. Any other announcements? I already forgot what I was going to follow up that Jerry said, and I'm only 66. It's like, oh boy. Okay. Well, I'll go chronologically. I know what it is. Tonight, the After Hours Committee is meeting, their monthly meeting at Noodles at 6 p.m. if anybody can make it. And on their agenda is the cleanup date. So they're going to talk about it. Hopefully they'll get some volunteers out of that. So anybody who wants to connect with the after hours younger folks, Noodles on University Avenue, Noodles and Company at 6 p.m. I have to bowl, so I can't go again.
I've sent all of them an email already.
Okay.
So they have the information, now they have to think about it.
So they're doing a lot of their own volunteering. They're doing a Ronald McDonald dinner at the end of the month. They do cleanup out at Governor Dodge, I think, State Park, but they organize themselves with their volunteering. But if we can connect with them, the better. Let's see. As I said, a lot of things. Saturday is a big day. I put in last week and this week, Bill Malot's having a service. I'm going to be out of town, so I cannot attend. I hope we can have some representation there. Details are in the obituary. Offhand, I don't remember where it's at, but that's on Saturday.
Lucier Park.
Oh, that's right. Lucier Heritage Center. Yep. Timing. Saturday is also the Middleton Kiwanis pancake breakfast from like 7 to 11. If anybody needs details.
Where is that located?
It's right here in the after hours Sports Bowl, 6815 University Avenue, 7 to 11. Tickets are $9
It's by the Willie Street Co-op.
on the west side.
West side.
Yep. Let's see. Also on the 15th, an event near and dear to my heart, which I will miss again because I'm out of town, is Science Expeditions on campus, which is basically a campus open house for science. It's at the WID building, the Wisconsin Institutes for Discovery, free, lots of good science tables and connections.
Kevin, in regard to that, we used to volunteer, some of us, for helping out with that. And that sort of fell apart with COVID. Is there some way we can reconnect?
Yeah, I can tell you how. Tom Zinnan and I started that years ago, and Tom is still active. He's not as old as I am, so he's still active. They have a good organizing committee. Yes, that's a good point, Dick, because they do need a lot of volunteers, and some of the science tables need volunteers. Probably too late for this year, but remind me about next year to get in on the planning. They usually start planning around January for the April event. Speaking of science, Angel shared with me that Emerson Science Night is coming back. We need some volunteers to help serve, and I think we have it in the budget to pay for pizza. April 21st, Friday, a week from Friday, from 5 to 7 p.m. So either email Angel or talk to me. I have it on my calendar. Unfortunately, I asked Dolly, but she won't be in town. So we'll need a few hands to help. I know, John, you've helped in the past. Mike Ely has. So it's a resurrection of a program we supported for many, many years in the past. Dick.
Another question. So you need volunteers, they just need volunteers for serving, right? We're not
Correct.
in the classroom.
No, that's my understanding, according to Angel, that they have enough activities for the kids. We're just there at basically 5 p.m. to help serve pizza. Let's see, going down. I'm almost done. April 17th, next Monday is the April board meeting. So we will be talking about some of the initiatives of the club as well as the future of the club. Any other announcements from anyone? We can get out a little early and actually enjoy the weather and the sun. It's supposed to be near 80. So thank you all for coming, and we'll see you next week. And thank you, Joe and Mike, for an introduction to the COPA project.